Dad.
Get a hug?
Take care of our kids.
You got nothing to worry about.
That is so weird. The wind is blowing toward the storm.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Fastcuts. Things that are happening nowadays are unpredictable. None of us ever thought that a virus would bring the whole world to a standstill. The movie War of the Worlds also shows us a big disaster that happens unexpectedly on Earth. One day a group of aliens invades the Earth and starts wiping out all humans. The world and its people begin to perish in unexpected violence. The survival of our hero and his family from this situation is the theme of this film. This film is directed by Steven Spielberg, who is also known for his famous films like Jurassic Park. We can recognize his directorial excellence right from the beginning. The film begins by saying that nobody would believe that even a drop of water on Earth is being watched by aliens. The movie says that just as man studies a germ by observing it through a microscope, the aliens are also observing us. The first scene shows a wide angle of a beach where several containers are lined up. Our hero Ray works there. Tom Cruise plays the role of Ray in the film. After working for some time, when he was about to leave, someone called him from behind and told him to be back after 4 hours. But Ray leaves despite what he said. He went straight to his home. Ray's ex-wife was waiting for him in the house to leave their children with him, since she is going on a long trip with her current husband. When Ray got there, his elder son got out of the car and walked towards the house without saying a word. He is angry with Ray. It's the same old behavior, Ray mumbled to himself. Just then, the younger daughter came out of the car and hugged Ray. Then Anne, Ray's ex-wife, goes into his house to make sure that the children have the facilities to stay there for a few days. Later she leaves by reminding him to call her if there's anything urgent. The next scene shows news which tells that the whole Ukraine is in darkness due to the lightning that struck it since morning. Also, there have been earthquakes in some places. While Ray's son Robbie is watching this news, Ray calls him to play baseball. Reluctantly, Robbie joins him. As the father and son are not in harmony, they argue for some reason. A bit angry, Ray throws the baseball so hard that it goes past Robbie and breaks the window of the house. His daughter Rachel, who was watching all this, told Ray to be calm. After that, Ray goes inside the house saying that he need to sleep. In the next scene, Rachel is watching TV. There is a storm warning on the news channel. At that time, Ray wakes up from his sleep and comes there. Later, Ray eats a meal that Rachel ordered. His facial expression indicates that he hated the meal. Later he calls out Robbie, but Rachel tells him that he went somewhere by taking Ray's car. At this time, some unusual noises are heard from outside. Ray comes out of the house to check on it. Everyone on the road was looking at something behind Ray's house in awe and wonder. Ray turned around. There were dark clouds. Ray goes behind the house to see it clearly. The wind started blowing. His neighbors also came to the back of their house to get a better view. Ray also brings Rachel to see this strange sight. Lightning began through the black clouds, and when it got stronger, everyone went inside the house. Ray and Rachel are now sitting under a table at home, afraid of lightning. Rachel was inquiring about Robbie. After a while the lightning stopped and Ray tried to find Robbie. He noticed that his phone was not working when he took it out. Not only the mobile but all the electronic devices, including his watch and the fan in the room, had stopped working. When Ray went out to search for Robbie, he observed several people who were frightened outside. Not a single car was working. All of them were lying immobile on the road. There, Ray meets Robbie. Ray asks Robbie if he is okay, and tells him to be with Rachel until he gets back. As Ray proceeds, he notices one of his pals, a mechanic, attempting to start a car. Ray tells him to replace the solenoid. Ray is then walking towards the spot where the lightning struck the ground. Many other people are also heading towards the same spot. They reach the spot. There were many people gathered there. A small pothole has formed on the road where the lightning struck. Ray went over to it and picked up a stone from the smoldering area. Immediately, they heard a sound coming from the small pit, and the area where they were standing began to shake. As the shaking increased, the road began to split. All the people were scared and got off the road. The tremor toppled nearby buildings and overturned parked cars. A policeman who was standing there warned everyone to leave the place. At that time, the gaps in the road become bigger, and the adjacent building starts to split in two. The small pit turned into a large one. With a massive roar, a spaceship-like object burst from it. When they saw this, the crowd began to flee in all directions. Later they notices a spaceship from a little distance away. Suddenly the spaceship started to emit lightning from some device on it. All people who are struck by lightning are burnt to ashes. Ray started running from there. Somehow he escapes and reaches home. Robbie and Rachel asked him what had happened after noticing the ashes on his body. Ray didn't answer. He was still in shock. He still couldn't believe what had happened. He tells them that they should leave the place as soon as possible. Ray went upstairs, grabbed a gun and left the house with the kids. Seeing the panic of everyone outside, Robbie asks him again about the issue, but he tries to console him by saying that he will explain it later. Ray is rushing when he notices a vehicle ahead of him. It was the car that the mechanic had previously put in to fix. He takes the children to the car. He also got inside the car. Suddenly the mechanic arrives and tells him to get out of the car. However, Ray warns him to get into the car or else he would die. All the lightning and noise that Ray had seen earlier were coming closer. As the mechanic refuses to get into the car, Ray took the car. He saw the lightning striking the mechanic through his mirror. Ray told the children to keep their heads down. The spaceship was destroying the entire city behind them. Ray sped his vehicle through the cars on the road. Rachel was scared and was making some noises from behind. Robbie immediately went to the back seat and comforted her. When Robbie was again asking about the issue, Ray tells him that the machine that they saw just appeared from nowhere and is trying to kill everyone. He added that machine was buried here before. When lightning struck, it started working. They went straight to their new home where they live with their mother and Tim, who was Anne's new husband. When they got home, Rachel called her mother, but later Ray informed her that Anne went to her mother's house in Boston. The lightning hadn't affected this area, and there were no problems with electricity. Meanwhile, Robbie was trying to contact Anne through the phone. Later Ray prepares food for them, but they refused to eat it. In the next scene, they went down the basement to sleep. There was lightning and wind blowing outside the house. Suddenly, the whole basement started shaking, and when it got worse, Ray pulled Rachel and Robbie into a room inside the basement and closed the door. After a while, Ray went outside to check. He was shocked to witness that all the buildings in that area were ruined, except the room where they were standing. A plane has crashed right in front of him. He saw two people searching for something in the wrecked plane. One lady among them shows him a video. It was a scene of lightning striking the earth. As Ray watches it, the lady tells him that it is the aliens coming down to earth by lightning. Then she hears a sound and gets into the van with her companion and leaves. In the next scene, Ray leaves the place with his kids. While he was driving, Robbie reminded him that he should have killed it. Ray didn't like the statement of Robbie. The two of them argue in the car. Later Rachel tells him to stop the car, saying that she needs to pee on the way. When the car stops, Rachel and Robbie gets out of the car. Robbie soon saw a few military vehicles passing by carrying the troops, and he quickly ran towards them. He called out the soldiers telling to take him with them. He wants to fight that machine by any means, but despite hearing his call, the army vehicles left without stopping. Suddenly Ray comes towards him and reminded him that he would die if he go there, but Robbie gets into an argument with Ray. In the next scene, they are driving again. Rachel is sleeping in the back seat. Ray asks Robbie if he could drive as he is sleepy, but Robbie tells him that he don't have a license. The next scene shows Robbie driving. Ray is sleeping in the next seat. It's night. They reach near a crowd. All those people surrounding the car are asking him to stop the car. Some of them are also trying to break the car window. Suddenly a man jumped into the front of his car. He was telling that at least 20 people could go in this car. Ray lost control of his car as he was speeding and crashed into a nearby fence. The car that hit the post was surrounded by all the people, and one of them broke the window of the car. They get inside and grabs Ray and takes him outside the car. Everyone was rushing to get inside the car. Rachel is still sitting inside the car. Ray called out her, but she couldn't get out. He immediately took out his gun and fired upwards. The crowd kept silent and stayed away from the car. Suddenly another man came and pointed a gun at Ray. The man told him that he is taking the car. Ray asks him permission to take Rachel out of the car. When he agreed, Ray pulled Rachel out of the car. Later Ray, Robbie and Rachel were sitting in a nearby building. That's when gunshots were heard from outside. Ray looked out the window and saw that the man who was about to leave with the car was being shot by another person. The next scene shows the three of them walking through a road. There were many people who were going like them. Everyone was walking towards a ship. That machine was coming towards to kill them. Suddenly the crowd panicked and started running towards the ship. The ship, which was loaded with people, was about to start. The boat crew stops Ray and his family from boarding the ship, as there was no space. Ray tried to tell them but they didn't listen. Closing the boat door, they moved the boat forward. The next scene shows the boat moving. A man driving the boat sees something stirring in the sea water. Suddenly the turbulence formed into a vortex, and another machine rose out of the water. The machine that came up overturned the boat, and everyone who fell into the water was carried away by the machines. The harbor is also destroyed. Ray and his family fell into the water. They then swim to the other shore to get out of sight of the machine. They could see the machine killing people. Robbie walks a little faster ahead of Ray and Rachel. Suddenly, Robbie started running towards the military vehicles that was in front of him. Even though Ray calls him back, he doesn't hear. Ray takes Rachel aside and tells her to wait as he was going to catch Robbie. Later, Robbie was pushed out by the soldiers as he entered the battlefield of the military force fighting against the machine. Ray asks him to come with him, but Robbie refused. Meanwhile, he witnessed a lady coming near Rachel. After some time, Ray reluctantly let go of his hand holding Robbie and ran towards Rachel, knowing he would lose Rachel. When Ray turned after picking up Rachel, Robbie was nowhere. Due to the war between the military and the machine, Ray sees bombs blasting at the place where Robbie went missing. Ray and Rachel started running away when the bombs started exploding near them. As they were running, a man rescues them and takes them to a basement. Later he introduces himself as Harlan. He explains that those machines were buried on Earth even before humans were born. The whole basement started shaking. That machine was approaching them by breaking the wall of the basement. Harlan urges him to fight against the machine, but Ray was reluctant to do so. Later, the sound of the machine that was heard from outside suddenly stopped. After that, through the collapsed part of the basement, a snake-like machine comes in. It has a front-facing camera to see what's going on inside. The snake machine started crawling through the basement looking for what was inside. Then the three of them started hiding. Harlan took an axe in his hand and was preparing to face it, but Ray gestured a no. Suddenly, when Harlan turned to walk over to where Ray was standing, his foot hit a bowl. The snake machine heard the sound, but immediately Ray placed a mirror in front of them and hid behind it with Harlan and Rachel. The machine looked in the mirror for a while and returned as it could see nobody. After the snake machine was gone, some aliens entered the basement. Ray and Rachel were hiding out of their sight along with Harlan. When Harlan loads his gun and tries to shoot the alien from behind, Ray refuses and grabs the gun. Only after the aliens went back he released the grip on the gun. A little later, Ray notices a red root-like thing growing rapidly in the basement window. It has started spreading everywhere outside the house. When he looks and notices a machine, it takes the human being to grind it and spit its blood. That blood later turns into red-colored roots and spreads rapidly throughout the earth. When Harlan went mad on seeing this, he made some noise and went outside, then takes an axe and starts digging, telling them that they could escape by making a tunnel to the city. He was making a lot of noise and fear. Even though Ray warns him that the machine might approach them hearing the sound, Harlan doesn't hear it. When Ray grabs his arm telling him not to make a sound, Harlan hits him. Ray immediately goes in, blindfolds Rachel, and then brings her out. He tells her not to untie even if she hears any noise. Harlan was still making noises non-stop. Realizing that he would be in danger if he continued like this, Ray kept Rachel in one place and killed Harlan. The next scene shows both of them sleeping. Rachel woke up suddenly and saw the snake camera in front of her and started screaming. Ray wakes up to the sound and starts destroying it with an axe. It went back in a state where it was cut into half. Immediately, Ray hears Rachel crying and goes upstairs to look. He didn't see her, so he went outside the basement and started looking for her. There were a lot of those red-colored roots. Suddenly the machine stopped right in front of him while he was looking for Rachel. As the machine tries to catch him, he runs and gets into a nearby car. Suddenly Rachel's cry was heard again. She was standing a little further away. Hearing Rachel's voice, the machine went straight and grabbed her. Ray got out of the car and ran to save her, but it was too late. After letting Rachel in, Ray detonates a bomb from the car to distract the machine. Hearing the sound, the machine came to him and grabbed him too. Ray was taken inside and fell into a prison-like cage inside the machine. There were many people like him in it. There were other cages like that one. All those who were caught in it were screaming in fear of death. Suddenly he sees Rachel standing on the other side. Just then, with a thud, something like a rope took a man out of the cage. They are taken one by one, and the blood is pumped through a chamber in the center of the machine. Ray slowly approached Rachel. She was shocked. Suddenly, That rope-like thing came towards them and grabbed their leg. Rachel grabs him as the machine started pulling him. Then he remembered about the bomb left in his hand. The rest of what had been blown up to get the machine's attention earlier was there in his pocket. One among the people held onto Ray's arm as he was being dragged to the upper chamber by the machine. Subsequently, everyone in the cage pulls him back to the cage. After getting back into the cage, he showed the pin of the bomb in his hand to them. He had already placed the bombs into the compartment where he was taken. A man who was there instructed everyone to lay down immediately. They all lay down, and the bombs exploded with a loud bang. Every part of the machine that was destroyed by the explosion started falling down. Everyone in the cage, along with Ray and Rachel, falls down and escapes. In the next scene, Ray and Rachel are walking through Boston. All the buildings around them are in ruins. Ray asked one of the army men about the happenings, and he said that a spaceship is attacking everyone, and warned him to leave the place. As they leave, they could see a spaceship attacking from above. Soldiers were busy rescuing people. At this time, Ray noticed something. Birds were sitting outside that spaceship. If there was a shield, no birds would even come into its vicinity. He realizes that there is no shield. He tells a soldier that it can be destroyed if they shoot now. He informs this to rest of them, and they all start firing the missile. After a short firefight, they destroy the spaceship with a missile. Suddenly one of its doors opened and a red-colored liquid came out. After that, an alien comes out of it, all tired and nearing to death. In the next scene, Ray and Rachel are going home. Anne sees Rachel coming from a distance and runs over and hugs her. She thanks Ray. Robbie was also standing there. He ran over and gave him a hug. Ray is now a hero for saving his entire family. The film ends with a wide-angle shot of the ruined city. The movie puts forward various things. The movie also shows the depth of relationships and the struggle of humans for maintaining it. Ray, who didn't have a good relationship with his children, eventually does everything to protect them. Hope everyone likes this amazing movie. We will be back with yet another exciting one. Till then, bye.